Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, huge welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I'm doing this smoky eye, which is actually quite easy to do, but I'm adding a little bit of glitter, a little bit of glam with the lashes, and I am doing my full base routine, glam base routine, everything in this video. So if you want to see how I achieve this look, then let's get into it. So when doing a little bit more glam makeup, you can start with the eyes or you can start with the base. I actually like to start with my base a lot of the time, so I'm going to do that today. And I'm going to use the Flawless filter from Tilbury. Now I'm going to use a mixture of these shades. The reason for this is because I know a lot of people have bought darker shades and they don't know how to use them. So I'm going to use the shade that I use all the time, which is 3, and I'm going to pop that all over the face. So this is just going to really act as my primer. Now I have got normal to drier skin, so I would suggest if anybody has got more oily skin to maybe use an oil absorbing primer underneath or a pore filling primer on top, whatever you want. You'll know your own skin. Then I have shade 5, which is a really kind of orangey tan shade, and I'm literally just going to use this as a way to add a tiny little bit of glow to my face. So I'm kind of just putting it in the areas that the sun would naturally hit. Just kind of in my hairline, across my nose, on my cheeks, that kind of thing. It just adds a different dimension, and it's a good way of using the product if you do have it and it's too dark. I also love a little bit of the 5 on my chin. Now it does look a little bit odd until you put foundation on top, so just bear that in mind. So next I'm actually going to go in with concealer. I'm going to do my concealer and my cream contour before I put my foundation on top, because I do want it to be very, very natural looking but still quite glam. So I'm going to go straight in with the SoSu contour stick in the shade Warm. I prefer to have this on a brush. I'm going to use the same brush that I actually used to blend in the Tilbury, and I'm going to actually pop it directly onto my brush, and I'm going to start working that into the skin. You can be a little bit more heavy-handed when you are putting foundation over this, so just bear that in mind. But you can also, if you feel like after you've applied your foundation that it's a little bit too light, you can always go back over it. So what I'm trying to do here is add warmth to my skin and a little bit of structure. So as you can see, I've kind of brought it into the hollows of the cheek, but also slightly up onto the cheek as well, which will give the illusion of lifting the face. I'm going to go under and slightly on to the jawline. This will give a shadow under here, but it will also kind of contour the jawline if I bring it slightly up onto it, not forgetting to bring it right in under that ear. I do like to get a sharp line here. So as I said, this can look a bit crazy, but it all comes together in the end and it looks amazing. So just going to do the same on the other side. So then tap over with a damp beauty sponge just to make sure that everything is blended in well. Obviously you're going to be putting foundation on top of this, but it's still nice to make sure that you do have a seamless look at every stage. So next I'm going to use concealer, and I'm going to use a mixture of Born This Way concealer in Golden Beige and the Stone Delilah concealer. This is light, this is a little bit darker. So I'm not going to apply too much concealer because I find under my eyes doesn't respond well to loads of concealer. So a little trick I would say is, if you're trying to avoid heaviness under the eye, apply the concealer to the area that doesn't move on your eye when you smile. So for example, if I smile, all of this area is moving, but in here is not moving. So if I apply the concealer in there, you can see I don't move. And as a result, when I smile, my concealer won't move. Now, I do still feel like I need to add some in here. I know when I smile that moves, but I do have a lot of darkness and I do like to lift the eye. So I'm kind of happy to compensate with that. I'm also going to bring this down the center of my nose, onto my chin, kind of around my nose and up my forehead, and I'm going to blend that in before I apply the other one. I'm going to use a damp beauty sponge and press it in. So you can see when you apply the concealer, it does kind of make everything look a little bit more uniform, whereas before it was just very bronzy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my concealer or my foundation next, and then at the end I might add a little bit more concealer onto the eye if I feel like I need to. Bringing any excess concealer onto the eyelid. I do think I'll need a little bit more under my eye, but I can deal with that at the time. So for my foundation, I'm going to use the AU Fresh Skin Foundation in the shade 3 Medium. And I really like this, but it does slightly oxidize on me for some reason, so I am going to just go sparingly with it. I'm going to take the Morphe M439 brush and I'm going to stipple this onto the skin. So this looks very light at the beginning, but you will see what happens. It kind of just slightly gets darker on me over time. I find this technique great because it gives dimension to the skin, it gives layers to the skin. You can see it hasn't taken away everything, it just kind of blurs it all out. I love this technique. And then I will go back in with a little bit more of the contour product just to give a little bit more structure, but not much because I've already got a lot there and I don't actually like a lot of contour on my skin. But it's just adding a tiny bit, like a tiny bit back in. A little bit under my chin. And a little bit down the sides of my nose. I'm pinching the brush. Then I am going to take that Delilah concealer in the shade Stone and I'm going to pop it in to the inner corner here again, and I am going to slightly bring it down here. I just want to really brighten that area because I do feel like it's quite dark on me. And I might just put a little bit in the outer corner again, just to brighten it as well. So you can see here, I actually have a little bit of darkness. So I'm actually going to just pop a little bit directly onto that dark area as well. And I'm going to leave that to settle for a second. While that's happening, I'm going to go in with Glossier Cloud Paint in Beam. I'm going to pop a little bit on the back of my hand. And I'm going to get my damp beauty sponge. And I'm going to press onto my cheeks. So I'm working that back in to that bronzer shade, but not far up enough to hit the concealer that I just put on. And remembering, I know I said this in my last video, you're not bringing it down here because that will just bring the face down, so you're keeping it high as much as possible. And then I'm going to blend out my concealer. Because it's a little bit drier, it actually kind of stays in the area that you put it instead of spreading all over the eye. And you can see that that just lifts. So I'm really happy with how that looks, but I want to set it in place. And I'm going to take the Delilah Pure Touch Translucent Powder and I'm going to pop that under the eyes to begin with. So how do I do this? So I have my product ready to go, okay? I have my damp beauty sponge. I'm going to press in under the eye again to remove any build-up and to make sure that no concealer is setting in that area. So when I'm happy with that, I take a little powder puff and I take the product up. I've kind of popped it, kind of folded it in half, and I take the powder and I press that in to under the eye. And that will lock that in place much more than if I just used a brush. So that's that under eye set, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other eye. The same powder puff, just tap over the areas that you really want to last. So my nose kind of would tend to disappear, or my nose will tend to get a little bit oily. The other thing I love the powder puff for is if you have any pores, you can kind of press the powder into those pores to fill them. And this really helps to last all day long. Such a great little technique. I really love a powder puff. So old school, but I love it. And then I don't want as much powder on the rest of my face, so all I do is take a big fluffy brush, press all over the skin. I'm going to take MAC Gimme Sun, I'm going to take the Nima Harley brush, and I'm going to use this on my cheeks. So I'm not going to contour, I'm just using this to bronze my skin. Onto the cheeks. I'm pulling upwards towards the temple, into the hairline, And then I do kind of contour a little bit with it under the jaw, bringing it down onto the neck to match the chest area. If anyone is curious, you probably can't see my chest much, but it's the bronzing powder from Melba. Totally love that stuff. Next, on to blush, and I'm going to take MAC Margin. I'm going to just take that on a little powder brush, and I'm going to basically go back over where I had put the cream. A little bit on my nose. To blend it all out, grab your powder brush and just soften the lines. Before I put my blush topper on, I want to go in with the Hourglass Ambient Lighting palette, and I'm going to basically mix all of these shades together. This is like Ancient. I'm going to mix all these shades together, and I'm just going to run it down the center of my face. I find this is amazing for just blurring everything, making everything look so cohesive. I just love it. And then I am going to go in with MAC Margin on the same brush, just to top off my blush and give my cheeks a little bit of a glow. I will add highlighter also. At this point, I do want to just set under the cheekbone just to make it pop a little bit. So I'm taking my powder puff and the powder that I used earlier, the Delilah one, and I'm just going to leave that set for a few minutes. I also do like to do that with this area of the face as well. This is like going to last you all day long. I'm going to take Laura Geller's Gilded Honey highlight, and I'm just popping that on the cheekbones. Oh wow, so nice. Tip of the nose and the Cupid's bow. So I'm actually just going to do my lips now while I'm waiting, and I'm going to use Sugar and Spice from LA Girl to line my lips. Just making sure you get right into that inner corner. Just changes the shape of your lip. And I'm going to slightly bring it up onto the lip, just as a way of blending out the harsh line. So I'm going to take two SoSu by SJ products for my lips. Bye Bye is one of my favourite lips colours of all time. When you see this, it's so pretty. If you like pinky nudes, you're going to love this colour. And then my favourite gloss for on top of this is Too Busy by SoSu by SJ. So now that I've done my lips and I've let that set for a little bit, I'm just going to work back over that with my powder brush just to clean it up. And then I'm also actually going to go in under my eye with a small Real Techniques brush just to buff away any powder. So that's pretty much the skin done. At the end I might need to top up, we'll see, but I'm going to get onto the eyes next. So I'm going to prime my eyelids with the Be Perfect Prime eyeshadow primer, just popping a little bit of that onto the eye, and I'm going to blend out with a kind of a synthetic fluffy brush. Bringing it slightly out past the end of your eye. And I do have slightly liney eyes, so I'm going to take a little bit of translucent powder and set that while I'm here with the same brush. So before I start, I'm going to take a fluffy brush and I'm going to take Sunset, which is the bronzer from the Mrs. Glam palette. That's what I'm going to use today. And I'm going to just pop that from the very, very inner corner all the way to the outer corner. Just kind of up into the crease and over the crease slightly. This is just going to allow everything to blend nicely. Slightly bringing it out past the end of the eye. Then I'm going to take a brush like this, which is the E26. I'm going to take the shade By Mum from the palette, and I'm just going to press on the outer corner of the eye. So I'm conscious of my hooded eyes, because when I open them you can see kind of the colour disappears. So I am going to slightly bring it up a little bit over the hood. And just keep building up the intensity of that. You want the outer corner to be quite rich. Next, I'm going to take the shade Mahago, which is kind of a more orangey, lighter tone to this, but it's very similar. And I'm going to place that directly beside it and kind of overlapping slightly. I'm building up. I'm looking to build up kind of like a dark base. And then I'm going to go into Sisters, which is a beautiful burnt orange colour, again with the same brush. And I'm just placing that beside Mahago. So you can see what I've done there. I'm also going to take a little bit of Sister and start blending out the other two shades. This just gives it a nice base and builds that intensity and the depth again that we were speaking about earlier when we were talking about the skin. I'm going to take a small little fluffy pencil brush and I'm going to take the shade Tash, which is almost like a purpley navy shade, and I'm going to start to build up the intensity in the outer corner here, and I'm slightly bringing this down onto the lash line. You can see I've kind of got a smoky winged liner there, or smoky liner, not a winged liner, but a smokiness to the eye. So I'm going to just continue building up that intensity in the outer corner and bring it slightly into the crease. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to wet a flat brush with a bit of water or setting spray, and I'm going to take the shade Silver Base and I'm just popping that in the outer corner, and I'm bringing it in to meet those other shades. Then I'm going to take the shade Doll, which is like a kind of a metal kind of colour. I'm just pressing that there between the shades just so that they blend together. I'm going back in and I'm going to take the shade Mahago and By Mom and mix it, and I'm going to just put those right beside, in between the dark shade and then the glimmer shades, just to blend out. And then when you have that done, just press back over to soften that line. So you're using the same brush that you did to use the shimmer shades. Blend out any harsh lines. Then I'm going to go in with a gel eyeliner. This is the SoSu one, and it's a pen eyeliner, and I'm just going to press along the lash line. Made a little bit of a mistake there, but that's okay. This doesn't have to be perfect. Just make sure you finish your liner at the end. Then we're going to take a flat brush and the shade Tash again, which is the one that we have in the dark at the outer corner. I'm just going to blend out that eyeliner. Going back in with Tash on that fluffy brush, and you're just connecting your eyeliner to that outer darker shade. I'm going to go back in with the bronzer from earlier on that fluffy brush and just give it one more blend. I'm going to tightline with Costa Riche from MAC, just to get a bit of intensity in the upper lash line. Then I'm going to take a mixture of Tash, Mahago and By Mom on the same brush. I'm just running that under the eye, connecting it with the outer corner. Really don't be afraid to bring this quite low. The lovely thing about this is if you do have fine lines under the eye, it kind of disguises them. And I do slightly like to wing it slightly out from the underneath, and I'll go back over them with the bronzer just to kind of soften it. But I do like that look, I love it for coming from underneath as opposed to on top. Just to add a little bit of depth into the lower lash, I'm going to take Tash on that same brush, and I'm just going to pop it directly under the eyelashes, just to give a bit of intensity directly under the eyelashes. I'm going to use a little bit of black liner in my waterline. I'm using the Sculpted by Amy X Tara, and I'm actually running this along my lashes as well, so actually running it along the lashes and then into the waterline. Then I'm going to smudge it out with the same brush. I'm just going back in with the mix of the three shades, the Mahago, the By Mom and the Sisters, just to make sure that everything is blended really well. So I just want to add a little bit of brightness into the inner corner, so I am going to take Silver Lining. I'm actually going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to press Silver Lining into the outer corner, and I'm bringing it slightly up to meet the silver lining, or the silver base shade. So silver lining is going to meet silver base. It just adds a bit of glam to the eye. I do want to slightly clean up under my brow bone, and because this palette doesn't actually have like a cream shadow, I'm actually going to take my translucent powder on a fluffy brush, and I'm just going to run under the brow just to clean it up a little bit. I think it just adds a nice little dimension to the eye. And I like to bring it down here just to clean up. You can also kind of spot clean up any area under the eye that you feel you might need. So I think that's looking pretty cool. I'm just going to add a little bit of this heavy metal purple eyeliner from Urban Decay just to give a little bit of sparkle. Just to the inner corner. I just always love a little bit of sparkle at this time of the year. I'm just going to press it out with my brush. That just adds something glam to the eye, but it's not too much. So you can see what that does for the eye. It just adds a tiny little bit of something extra, and I love that. I love adding a little bit of dimension to my skin and to my eyes. I just really enjoy it. So that's the eyes basically done. I'm just going to add a lash of the Bambi Eye False Lash Mascara from L'Oreal. I'm going to pop that on to my eyes, and I'm actually going to wear fake eyelashes with this as well, strip lashes I think. I'm just going to pop on the Sarah lashes from SoSu, just popping them down onto the middle of the lash, leave them for a second, and then start to connect the outer corner and the inner corner. And I used the Kiss Lash Adhesive, the black one, just to apply these. So I did get a tiny bit of glue on my eye. So I'm going to just take a Q-tip, and I'm going to just, when that's dry, I'll actually wait until it's dry and I'll go back over, and you can just kind of pull it off. It's not a big deal at all. So then just check that you're happy with everything. Check your brows. They might need a little bit of a brush through. I think I'll give them a brush through with the Full Brow 3-in-1 brow fibre, just to add a little bit of volume to them. Maybe you need a little bit of highlight, a little bit of blush, anything you want you can do at this point. I'm going to add a tiny little bit more highlight, why not? And before I finish, I will set with the Glow Mist from Pixi. This is one of my favourite products. Best setting spray if you have dry skin and you want to glow. This is a brand new bottle. When it's dry, you can pat it in with a beauty sponge. And that's this look complete. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a comment down below. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.